right. Got my good friend, Mr. Gary Buchanan from Boxcast with me today, and super excited. This dude, we met in Columbus, Ohio, at back in the summer at the Assemblies of God National General Council. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but man, we just kind of clicked. One of those guys you meet, and it's like, oh, dude, I'd like to hang out with this guy. So we've been hanging out on Zoom ever since, talking and helping each other out. And so I had to have him here. I wanted to interview him, and while what Boxcast does is not exactly in the scope of what we do at FaithWorks with marketing. What Boxcast brings to the table for churches does have a direct effect on what we do and how we do things in that, and we'll talk about this more later, but us being able to get good content from the church has a lot to do with whether or not they're doing a decent job with their live stream. So we're going to dive into that. I've got some questions for you, but man, thanks for being here.
Yeah, man. Thanks, John. I really appreciate it, buddy. Yeah, that first meetup and just like the beard got me, dude. Like the beard got me. I think that's like
Sparks flew. You know,
it's like all the sunshine and glitter just came out. It was great, man. It was awesome. So yeah, but yeah, man. Thanks for having me on. I know we've had you on a couple of things with Boxcast podcast and of course our Facebook group. And yeah, since we've met, we love to see how churches can manage and use content to push themselves out there so that they can spread the gospel, right? Because I mean that's the entire point of being a church and being, at least in the fellowship of Christians, is to spread the gospel. And so how can we do that better? So well, like I said, we'll talk more about how Boxcast can make that happen and what we do, in turn.
Yeah. No, very cool. So well, real quick, tell me just a little bit, introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about you and what you do, or tell everybody what you do and what you're
Yeah,
going to
man.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm a nerd first and foremost. Yeah, who is Gary? Well, I like long walks on the beach. Actually, I hate the beach. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. No, there's sand and heat and sunburn.
Animals. Yeah, and animals.
I'm a mountain guy.
You know what? I'm a basement guy. I'm a basement guy. Yeah, no, so I'm Gary Buchanan. I'm the community manager at Boxcast. Basically, that's just a fancy way of saying I get to connect with people like you, Jono, with your audience, your friends. We connect with all of our users at Boxcast, and what I do specifically is really just make sure that our users understand what Boxcast is all about and how we build a community inside of that. So that's from anything from tech tips and help to videos to podcasting, right? Showing how we can showcase all of the friends that we know who have really all the cool knowledge. But personally, on a personal side, I'm a Christian. I'm a father. I'm a pastor. I'm also a business owner myself. I'm into trading cards, and I do that on the flip. But I've been a pastor for over 15 years. I have one daughter biologically, and then I have two other children that we've recently brought into our home, who are my niece and my nephew, so they're blood as well. But we are here in Columbus, Ohio. It's frigid right now. It's 20 degrees up here. What is it down there in Atlanta, dude?
It's cold. It's cold in Atlanta. I mean, it's 50. That's not Ohio cold, but it's cold here. It was really cold this morning. But I like cold weather because I hate sweating. So which is why I don't like the beach. So I'm happy. I'm a happy man. I would like.
Oh man.
But
I totally get that, dude. Yeah, I'm not a cold weather person. I think it happens when you live in a place where you're the opposite of that temperature. You don't want that temperature. So, I don't like cold weather. I'm a more fall, maybe spring, moderate kind of person. But my wife is like, yeah, give me the heat, baby. And then there's some people who are just absolutely nuts who just love cold weather. And so I don't.
Dude, I really do like cold weather just because I don't know if it's high blood pressure or what, but it's hard. I just don't get cold. But my wife, on the other hand, we could move to the equator and it still wouldn't be warm enough for her. So I'm kind of stuck in Georgia. So
yeah,
it's whatever. But So anyway, yeah, one thing I like about you and the guys that I like to talk to, and I like a lot about you, but
Appreciate
um,
that.
one of the things, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, and one of the reasons that I think, um, people should use Boxcast, and one of the reasons I think that maybe sets you guys apart. Now, I don't know other people at other at your competitors. But anyway, my point is through our talks and just through what you're doing in ministry and the way you lead your family, the way you live your life. I know that you love the church, and I know that
Absolutely.
you want to see the gospel spread. And I just remember because I was full time church staff for 21 years. So I've only been off church
Hmm.
staff for 3 years. So I'm not that far removed from it, but I'm still serving at my church. But I just remember when I was on church staff, there was, I would hear from marketing people, and it was always condescending to me. I always felt like
Hmm.
people, you hear things like, your church marketing sucks, and you're just constantly hearing. It felt like people were just telling you weren't good at it,
Hmm.
and you should pay us because we're way better and you're way more dumb than we are. And so I've worked really hard as I'm trying to help churches get their marketing right. I'm doing it because I love the church and I want to see the church grow, not because I think I'm
Yeah.
brilliant and I think that pastors are stupid. But I think there are some in my world, and I think there are some in your world who are like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are idiots! Just let us get out of the way and let us do it." Whereas with
Yeah.
you guys have a heart for the church. You want to see churches get their live stream better so they can share their message. And so, anyway, so I appreciate that about you,
Yeah.
and I wanted to say that. So, with that, tell me what Boxcast is about, what you guys do.
Yeah, good question, Jono, and we appreciate that too, man. So Boxcast started way back in 2012 as an entity in a capacity where our founders really were centralized around helping someone, and that someone was a funeral director. So it was kind of funny. The funeral director asked if it was even possible, and these guys went back to their house and garages and tinkered around and came up with the first Boxcaster that had ever existed. And I'll have to send you a photo. It was hilarious. It was just this rinky dink little actual cardboard box. It was crazy. And so from there, it grew into an idea that they wanted to branch out into live streaming. They wanted to help people connect, even in a world that was becoming less connected, but using video and internet and technology to do so. And so that's bloomed out until around 2018 when we released our Boxcaster Pro. And then when COVID hit is really when Boxcast was seen as an entity that could assist churches. And since then, Boxcast has been taking on that mantra that we are about churches. We want to help churches succeed in not only just their live stream, but we're actually expanding that. We're going further. We want to become a multi-platform ministry tool for churches. So we are offering our website tools where we can help build your website out, and then that links in directly with SEO generation with what church, FaithWorks does. We're helping to build out other tools and pieces and partner with other people to help the church grow. And not only do we want to see you grow where you are at, just individually localized in that space, but we want to see you grow online. We want to see your experiences grow. We want you to become a community within your community. So we don't want you to be like Bethel. We don't want you to be like Hillsong, okay, because we know those churches are huge, right? And so the personal capacity there is really diminished. But you are in your area for a reason. Like, God has you there for a reason, and so that reason should stem to you becoming a community within your community. And that way people look to you to be that harbor, that safe space, that place where they can go and get healing. And that's what Boxcast is about. We want you to become that place, that piece of the community in your community. So within that, Boxcast has really turned the tide this last year. We've changed kind of the ship's direction. We used to be pretty multi-platform, we call them markets, multi-marketed between schools and government and not only churches, but like
Mm-hmm.
small businesses as well. But Boxcast is really starting to focus in real hard on churches because we see that there's a direct need for churches. And you can see this too. I mean, I'm sure, Jono, you can. Oh, I just kicked the camera. Like you've probably seen this before. But churches get scalped quite a bit. They get
Yeah.
scalped. I mean, the money that comes out of like the requirements for doing things is ridiculous. We're not about that. Boxcast is not about scalping you. We're about providing value over the amount of money that you're going to spend. So, and then not only that, but the knowledge. We've noticed that a lot of places don't necessarily have a huge knowledge base, or they don't have a lot of people who are connected to them that have the knowledge. Like Boxcast is not going to become Planning Center. I'm just going to be legit with you. Like
Yeah.
we're not going to become Planning Center, okay? But we know Planning Center, and we know people at Planning Center. And so we're working with Planning Center to make it easier for you to work with us and us to work with them. And then that way you're not having to fight to know the things that you need to know in order to be better at what you need to be better at. So that's the kind of the thing with Boxcast is like we've gone from just being solely live streaming, which is a huge piece of the puzzle for churches, because your online presence is key. It's absolutely paramount to being online now. You have to think about the internet not being a luxury anymore. It's now a utility. It's the way the world operates. And so we've gone that direction. We've changed away from being solely about live streaming to now becoming a multi-platform ministry tool for your church. And so, it's taken some time, but we're moving that direction pretty heavily now.
Nice. Very cool. And yeah, man, I again, I love you guys' heart for this, and I love the fact that you're trying to work with guys like me, work with Planning Center, and just like let's just make this all work for everybody. And
absolutely,
that's pretty cool. And I think that's probably something you just don't see in a whole lot of other niches or spaces, whatever term you want to use. So it's cool. The collaboration is pretty nice. So
we all work better together, man. I mean, like honestly, like if you think about the church world for a second, like not one church can also succeed in an area without another church. Like, I mean, there has to be some collaboration. Even Jesus said that. I mean, he's like, a house divided against itself cannot stand. So, and Boxcast, we don't use that as like a mantra here. Like, that's not what Boxcast literally says, but I mean, that's kind of the idea. Like, the idea is just like, we can't be segregated and alone. We have to come together. So that's what we want to do. We want to see everybody become part of the experience. We want to see everybody connect together. So why not make that possible and use a multi-platform tool to do so. So yeah.
So I'm not an idiot when it comes to tech, but I don't have my head around the live streaming aspect of things.
Okay.
I can fix your website. I can get you to rank on Google. I can set up Google ads for you. I can set up Facebook ads for you. But if you call me in to help with live streaming, I'm like, and we actually do get that question, and I just say, hey, call my friend Gary at Boxcast. But just so for the dummies, no, they're not dummies, but for the dummies like me, who just don't have their head around exactly, give me the short, condensed, third grade level. I call you. I've been streaming my service on my Samsung phone through the Facebook app. That is our live stream, and I think that's. I check out a lot of churches on Sunday morning. That is happening a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah, absolutely a lot.
So hey, we want to upgrade and we want to get out of just using Bob's phone. So what do I need? What are you guys going to do? Like, what are you going to?
Yeah, what do we do? That's a great thing, Bob. I'm glad we want to get away from using your phone over Facebook Live.
Your iPhone 7.
Yeah, well, I can go back further. It's an iPhone 4. Let's go back further where you get that 720p camera on it, right? Yeah, that's a good question, John. So elevator pitch. How can Boxcast help you? Well, here's the thing. We offer a lot of tools that make it easier for you to live stream and manage that. From our ability to automatically generate downloads to our ability to give you URL links, to managing what is going where and how it's being seen, whether it be public or private. I mean, we even help you set up channels on podcasting for if you wanted to create your own podcast like this one, or maybe you wanted to take an additional step. Maybe you wanted to go a little further. You want it on Roku and Amazon and Apple TV. Like, we have that ability too. We make things a little bit less complicated and more simple. We make it easy to live stream. So the technology side of Boxcast is probably the coolest part of this, though, because we have built-in tools.
It's literally a box.
It's literally a box. Yeah, it's lit. It's about this big. I wish I had one sitting here on here right now. I moved everything out of my office to my basement because I had two new littles join the family. But
Yeah.
it's a literal box, and I'm sure Jono can get a picture of it and put it in when he puts this podcast up for you guys. But our Boxcaster is about this big. It's about a little bit bigger than the size of a deck of cards. It's one of the original Boxcasters, and then we have a Boxcaster Pro, which is a big one, and I can say this now because we just are releasing a new box called Spark. And that's our new technology. The whole reason we tell you these things is because this is what drives our live streaming power, but it's the software behind it. And that's where our platform is really the most important part of this puzzle. Because not only do we offer you all the cool tools to manage everything and get in and generate all of your descriptions and put all your details in, create clips, but we go a little further. Everything's in the cloud, so there's no localized storage. You're not going to be paying exorbitant amount of money for localized storage, but also on that side of that, because everything's in the cloud, everything's done without you having to worry about using your little iPhone 4 and Facebook Live. We can now multi-distribute to everywhere at that point.
So I just need to make sure I've got to have a decent camera with some decent audio.
Yeah, a decent camera works.
Is going to take those signals.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
Going to then do what with it? It's going to connect to the computer I'm on.
Yeah. So it really takes a quick transition. So it goes from camera, which is what you're looking at from me. It goes into our Boxcaster, and then you take your audio from like your soundboard mixer at the church, and you plug that into our box. And then from that point forward, it goes over the internets to our server, and our server just has a really cool mind and is a genius, and it puts it all together and it transcodes it and sends it out so that way everybody can view it on any device at any time, anywhere.
And it's going to send it and very
anywhere.
Easily. And I've seen the software; it's very intuitive. You don't have to be a nerd to be able to use it, and you don't have to have a degree from MIT or anything. But you're literally. I can send it. Where can I send the video? I can send it to
anywhere.
My website. I can send it.
You can send it anywhere.
Social media.
Anywhere.
I can send it to YouTube.
Yep.
Anywhere I want.
Anywhere you want, anywhere that'll accept certain codes, anywhere that accepts an embed, and anywhere that you want to distribute out to. So, I mean, that's Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch. You want to go to Instagram. Instagram's not offering that service. You can live stream it to Instagram here with our TMP. You want to send it to your website, send it to your website. You want Apple TV, Amazon, Roku, go ahead and send it to those too. We have people who are sending it not only to those places, but they're sending it to third-party, like third-party places. So that would be like to radio stations, to news stations, like actual TV, localized TV stations. They're sending that broadcast over there, and then they're literally opening the gateway to spreading the gospel through their messages and through their services just by using the Boxcast platform. The cool thing about all of that is like how it's managed inside the system is that the box automatically takes care of everything. So you schedule your broadcast in the dashboard, in our Boxcast system's dashboard. Once you've got it scheduled, the box turns itself on and turns itself off. So, I mean, it starts and stops your broadcast automatically. So the automation is built into that. There's no having to physically go make, Bob's going to go up there and push the start button on Facebook Live. Oh no, the camera orientation is not turned off. Now it's stuck. There's none of that. Everything is taken care of inside of the box. Yeah.
Nice. So anybody can use this. It's super intuitive, super user friendly. It's not going to cost you a fortune. So yeah, it's definitely seems like a no brainer. So, I'm curious along the lines of back to how we care about the church. I don't want to beat up on the church, but you do a lot with people who are live streaming and doing this. What do you see people like they're doing it right? Like what I mean, besides just streaming the service, is there like a tip you would give, something you've seen another church do that was kind of cool that other churches could emulate, or what are people doing right? What's going well?
Yeah. So right now, the churches who do it well, usually the ones who have the most simplest setups, and the churches that actually care about what their live stream looks and sounds like. So you could have ABC Church, they're in Atlanta, Georgia, who just puts their phone in the back and lets it sit there, and that's it, right? That's not doing it well, right? But it is doing it. So that's I think my first tip is like, if you're not live streaming your services, do it. You need to. That's where the world is at right now, and that's how messages get across. That's how the gospel is being spread. We talked about in scripture, scripture talks about all the world hearing the news of Jesus. Well, guess what? The internet is the way it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so by live streaming is literally one of the biggest methods that you do that. Almost every large church has a live streaming service. So doing it is where you start. That's the first tip I'd give you. Start live streaming, even if it is just your phone in the back.
Yeah.
The second tip I'd give you in your live streaming is try to do something that's a little bit more conducive to less static imagery and a little more immersive. So this is what we call engagement here at Boxcast. We like to have our users learn about engagement in one way or another. And that usually is, if you were sitting in the middle of the service, how would you want to see the actual service go? So I'll give you an example. If, let's say, you're watching the big game, right? I know Michigan and Ohio State played this past weekend. And Ohio State lost terribly, but it's one of the things, man. But when you look at that broadcast, there's not one moment that goes by that it's a completely static image. There's always motion, there's always movement, there's always something happening on the screen, and you're always hearing audio. You're always hearing something. And I think when we've taken polls, the biggest problem with live streams with churches is that the audio is awful, right? So,
Yes.
and I'll give you the third tip on audio here in just a minute, but you got to have audio with the video, and you've got to have it to where it's engaging. So if you create a service where it's engaging, then you're going to be able to like actually see what's happening, and it's going to feel immersive, and you're going to feel like you're actually there. So becoming part of the experience of that service is an important key. So create an engagement. Now, sometimes that means you're going to need 2 cameras. Sometimes that means you're going to need 3. We'd recommend always starting with 2, and using a video switcher like the A10 Mini or the A10 Mini Pro, which is a very affordable option, and then a couple of decent cameras that are like $1,000 a pop. Okay. Canon Vixia cameras are really nice for that. There's some Panasonics out there.
So I don't have to go out and spend $25,000 this week.
Absolutely not.
I need to spend some money if I want to do it excellent.
Yeah, if you want to do it excellent, you're probably looking anywhere between 2,500 and I would say 5,000 at the most.
Yeah.
And that's for everything. Like that's all your cables, your cameras, and all that jazz. So
Yeah.
but immersive creativity comes when, and you'll find that as you start doing this stuff, as you start learning how to use it and get more comfortable with it, you're going to become more creative with your engagement piece. So with that, a 2-camera setup, you have a wide screen in the back, so it picks up the whole stage in the back. And then you have your second camera somewhere near closer to the front, and it's literally just getting a side shot, and that's the pastor.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you switch to the more narrow shot, the closer shot, the near shot, you're changing the camera in the back to zoom in a little bit more, so it gives a nice open front shot of the speaker. And then if you have people like we used to do a long time ago when I was working more exclusively with our youth ministry, I used to have youth ministry kids learn how to do this. And so we would have them man the cameras on Sunday mornings. So they would actually pan the camera back and forth, tilt the camera up and down. They would follow the pastor as the pastor walked across the stage, or the speaker was speaking. So creating engagement.
Great way. I say this all the time, man. Getting teenagers involved.
Oh yeah,
it's huge because I was a youth pastor for a long time, and you've got the kids that want to be in the band, but then you got these other kids that they have a lot to offer, but man, they don't want to be in front of everybody, but they will be awesome behind a camera. Yep. And the other thing that I saw happen time and time again is mama or daddy has been wanting this kid to get engaged and serve somehow, and they were more than happy to drop $1,000 on the camera so their kid would have a place to serve in the church. So
yeah, absolutely.
You want to start a photography team or a video team, and you got this girl or guy in the youth group. A lot of times the parents will chip in if their baby's going to get to serve, and I think it's just good for everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that you can generate what I called experience learning in the church, especially because there's a lot of people in the church, a lot of students. Now, I was a youth pastor for a long time too, so like giving students an opportunity to serve, you find is more beneficial. So like with the live streaming thing, like putting them on a camera and teaching them how to use it. I mean, even if you're not even the expert in the camera, just teaching them how to use it. Like that's the thing. So, I mean, that would be the second tip is learn, engagement, like make it engaging. The third tip is your audio. I would say the biggest problem with live streaming audio is that people think that whatever they hear in the house is what was what should be heard in the stream mix, and that's not the case. Now this takes time. This is not something that you're going to do instantly correctly every single time. And we have friends everywhere across the board, from Cade Young with Collaborate Worship, and Churchfront with Worship Ministry School, right? Bethel, Luke Hendrickson with Bethel Church. Like if and shameless plug here, Jono, sorry, but if you go watch the Boxcast podcast, if you go watch our podcast episodes with these people, they explain how to do audio better in your live streaming. And so picking up those tools and pieces and learning how to do that and getting your audio right in your live stream is essential to having a really good experience. Nobody wants to sit and watch a football game with no audio. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's
and it
the
doesn't
same
matter
with
how
watching
awesome
service.
your video is if it sounds terrible. I mean,
or no audio at all,
or no audio at all. But even if
right? Yeah.
you can have a $25,000 camera and it look amazing. And if I'm like straining to hear or the audio is inconsistent or whatever, you've lost me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, our producer, one of our producers here at Boxcast, he's a content creator. He his biggest gripe about churches, or even just in people in general, who buy equipment just because it's big, pricey, and somebody said to buy it because it would do all these amazing things, is the fact that it's too much for them to learn. It's too much to handle. So like, you're not going to go out, like as a church, I do not recommend you going out dropping $30,000 on a Red camera. They're crazy cool, and they have so many really cool features, but it's unnecessary, right?
Yeah.
Learning,
work up
learning,
to it.
work up to it. Learn the basics of a camera, what exposure is, shutter speed, ISO, and figure all that out, what the white balance does, and even how to find the white balance settings and piece to that. So it's not about getting the most expensive piece and tools, because sometimes you can do a whole lot with a whole lot little. And that's kind of the point with Boxcast, is like, there's not a whole lot that you need to get started and to make it look and sound pretty good.
Yeah. No, that's great. Because I think a lot of churches that are still using the camera on a tripod in the back, or somebody on the front row holding it up, shaking, is just kind of scared of it. And think it's just going to be overwhelming and going to be unaffordable. And so they're just not doing anything with it. But, it would be leaps and bounds just to take this step. Again, they ain't got to go spend $30,000, but spend a few $1,000s, and it would make a night and day difference. And then, where we come in, where we're trying to manage your social media, and we're, because what FaithWorks is, I mean, we were talking about that this morning, like, for less than half the price of a part-time staff member, when you hire FaithWorks, you get a full-time marketing strategist, you get an SEO guy, you get a Google Ads person, you get a social media manager, and you get a website manager, and you get a Facebook ads strategist and manager. So you get 6 of our team members for less than what it would cost, for half of what it would cost you to hire a part-time person who would not get all of that done. And so, but when a church hires us and we come in and we're doing all the communication stuff, it is so nice when they are doing a decent job streaming their video and capturing good video, because now we've got content to make sermon video clips for their reels. We've got sermon video clips to use for their Facebook ads and retargeting ads. We've got videos now to upload on YouTube and to embed into landing pages on their website, where we can take the Google grant and drive traffic. So having this piece of, having Boxcast in place and having your streaming set up properly, and getting just, excellent video, not perfect, but just getting it good.
Good video.
Provides us one good piece of content every week that can really, you can take the audio and make a podcast. You can take the sermon and cut into social media clips. You've got blog posts now. You can get it transcribed into podcasts. So getting that one piece right, really is able to be syndicated all over the place and helps us. It's like jet fuel on what we're trying to do with churches.
And Boxcast actually takes that with you. Like, we can help in that regard too. Like, we have built-in tools in our dashboard systems that allow you to generate clips really easily. Like, you just select the timeline of the clip and then hit clip, and it brings the clip for you and you just download the clip. So you're like, what would take most video editors an hour or two just to find the right piece of content and then to piece it out and move it. Boxcast helps with that. So like for even with FaithWorks, like we can even help FaithWorks jump into that regard too. So like the whole point here is to create things that make it easier for people to see who you are and to hear and view who you are. And that's what we care about. We don't really care too much more about that other than we really want to help churches succeed. So why not make it easier for them to do so?
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great, man. Well, what other? We'll start landing the plane here. But what other? Any last tips? Any last encouragement? Any other thoughts?
Yeah. So don't eat dairy. No, I'm just kidding.
But no, seriously, don't.
Yeah, I would say like I'm an encourager. Like one of my gifts the Lord's granted me with is encouragement. Even though there's a lot of times where I don't feel a lot of encouragement, right? I don't feel like being encouraging or being encouraged. But I do want to encourage the people who are going to watch this. Any of your audience, even anybody in the Boxcast world. We know that this is a crazy time, right? But the world needs the church more now than anything. And so by getting yourselves into a position to say, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do live streaming and I'm going to do church SEO and I'm going to do Google business profiles and I'm going to go ahead and get my website in order. Like pastors and churches need to start focusing on the outreach outside of the four walls. And I know it's a challenge right now, given the landscape of everything that's going on, but I want to encourage you that we're here and there are people who know what they're doing and we can help. Our whole goal is to be about churches. It has nothing to do with us. Yes, we are a for business company, but you know what? That's how business works. Like we have to make money in order to continue to do things to make, give help to people. I would also I think I would also say in a tip world is that I mentioned earlier about, actually starting. And if you haven't started, or if you're like really on the fence because you're like, well, streaming's of the devil. I would like to tell you that everybody in this world who isn't streaming is still looking at content online. And that's something that you have to learn how to compete with. And there are ways to do it. And so Boxcast wants to help make that a little bit better. But be encouraged. There is ways. There are people. We have the connections and tools here at Boxcast. FaithWorks is one of our friends and our partners who have those connections as well. And that's all we want to do. We just want to make sure that you succeed and spread your gospel. Spread not your gospel, but the gospel, right? Spread the message out.
Just make one up. Just yours, whatever.
Just spread whatever you want. Go on. Go Jim Jones on it. I don't care.
No, man. No, that's good stuff. And I know I said we were landing the plane, but you bring up something that I meant to come back to, because you'd said it earlier as well, talking about some people think, that live streaming is the devil, or even, because I've read of some guys getting rid of live streaming because they felt like it was encouraging people not to show up to church. And I've kind of had that. I kind of wrestled with that thought, like, man, is that okay? I kind of see where they're coming from, but then I thought, I know a lot of people who it's kind of the introduction to the church before they come in person. I think a ton of people are watching a service online, deciding whether or not they want to check it out in person. And so your live stream, in a lot of ways, it's a lot of things, but it is an invite.
It really is.
So, what else would you say to that guy who's like, I don't know, I think I don't know, we want to live stream because I don't want to discourage people from being a part of the body.
Yeah. There's that mentality. Actually, I can tell you that one of my senior pastors at the churches I've been at had the same mentality until we showed them the numbers. Right, the proof is always in the pudding at this point. So, thing is like your viewership is really the key to that. Now you're not going to get instant like TikTok fame by doing this immediately. Like, oh, I'm going to start now. I'm going to have 1,000 views a week. That's not going to happen. It's going to start really small and then it's going to build. But I would tell the person out there who's like really questioning the fact, like, why should I pay a company or why should I live stream? Because it's the downfall of in-person services. Well, I can tell you flat out that the website, the internet in itself was also deemed that too. And look how far that's taken the church. It's taken the church quite far. In fact, there are churches online who are strictly online because they see better attendance and they see more engagement and they see people coming to know Jesus through their online services. So now I don't quite agree with that. I don't quite agree fully going 100% online, but I mean, and COVID kind of forced us into some of that as well. But I would tell the guy out there or the lady out there that, live streaming is no longer a luxury. It's a utility. It is now a tool. Just like the printing press became a tool to spreading the gospel, with the Gutenberg Bible. So far as doing sidewalk Sunday schools or Sunday ministry crusades, or how missionaries are using iPods to go into the bush in Madagascar because they can't take anything heavier than a cell phone and their boots, right? So technology has really changed the landscape in terms of how content is driven and how content's consumed, and that should be played as a benefit for the church. So if you're doubting the in-person thing, right? Like, I want people in the church seats. I get that, right? And there's usually, and I'm going to be honest here, so we're going to call this what this is. There's usually a monetary problem with that. And people want people in the church because they want the monetary value. Well, there are ways to do that too, through giving online and using services that help with that.
Yeah.
But I would tell that person, like, don't be afraid to at least explore the options that are out there for you and to get started, because you're going to see that through live streaming, as long as you continue to do it and do it consistently, you're going to see and reap benefits and rewards. The website is the front door to any church's home. So it's your front porch. So if you don't have, 2 rocking chairs and a pitcher of lemonade sitting out there for somebody to come sit down and talk with you, then nobody's going to recognize what's going on. You can't be a light, you can't be a light upon a hill for the city if you don't actually turn the light on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and as long as there have been missionaries and evangelists, and we're supposed to do the work. We are supposed to be missionaries. We're supposed to do the work of an evangelist. They have been going to where people are. That's what missionaries and evangelists do. They go where the people are. Well, where are people? They're right here, man.
They're there.
They are on this thing. So we need to. It's not the only place we need to reach people, but it's one of the places. We'd be crazy not to. And it is kind of funny to me, like. And maybe Charles Stanley did catch it when he started doing TV ministry. Like, maybe that was of the devil, but like, I just don't think, after time went on, no one would really say like that was such a wrong thing. You're keeping people from being involved in the local church by being on TV.
Right.
But so now, for way less money than producing a TV ready show, we can stream it online, but the truth is there are people, and this is a small fraction, but this is kind of anecdotal, but my dad severe social anxiety, and could not, just couldn't handle it. He went through seasons where he could handle going to church, but there was a church in Atlanta, Roswell Street Baptist Church, Dr. Nelson Price, and we watched Dr. Nelson Price every Sunday morning. Dad would cook sausage biscuits, and we'd watch Dr. Nelson Price.
Oh,
not because
brother,
my dad didn't want to go to church. He was just, man, he had some issues. He just could not handle it. He was scared to death, and so I'm thankful for those ministering on TV and online and stuff. So man, there's so many different situations, so many different people, so many different things going on, that let's use every tool that we can to meet everybody and share with everybody we possibly can, no matter where they are and what their issue is.
Yeah. Well, and that's the benefit to live streaming your services, or just live streaming things in general. Like, we live stream our discipleship classes, we live stream our Wednesday night classes and our Wednesday morning services. Like, we do all of that. We stream everything, and everything goes into a podcast episode automatically. So it's not like you're never going to miss it. But I can give you a really cool example. So, like, my nephew preached this past Sunday for his first time ever. And shout out to Lex City Church down there in Lexington, Kentucky. If you ever see this, man, you're doing a great job down there, guys. But My nephew preached for his first Sunday. Now, obviously, I'm working on Sundays because I'm manning all of our audio, video, internets, and I'm doing all of the Facebooks and Twitters and the TikTokies that are we're handling for all the content that we're trying to generate for our church. But I got to see him preach
Yeah.
because of the live stream, and if I would have had to been in service for that. His mother had the same experience. She lives in Cleveland, Ohio, and he's in Lexington, Kentucky. She couldn't drive down to Lexington to see him. So what did she do? She watched the live stream service and got to see her son preach for the first time. It's that kind of thing. It's that experience that really drives home the purpose. I just imagine somebody watching your live stream service over a Facebook or YouTube. Maybe they stumble upon it just happen chance on a TikTok or maybe even in an Instagram video, and you change their life through the ministry of Jesus because you had that content there. You're now doing what Jesus said. So I mean,
Yeah.
there's really no substitute.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good stuff, man. Well, my friend, this has been good conversation. Love what you guys are doing. Love your heart for the church. And yeah, if anybody needs help live streaming, you've got to get in touch with Boxcast. They know their stuff. And if you need any help with marketing, with SEO, and getting the word out on the Googles and the intrawebs and the socials, FaithWorks is here for you. So thanks for listening, watching, all that good stuff. And thanks, Gary, for hanging with me. And
Yeah, man.
we'll see you all next time.